the agenda.
I do need to do roll call now, and everybody needs to tell me where they're calling from, their municipality that they're in and their county.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
It'll be really quick.
Thanks, Kelly. Go ahead.
Kyle Mosier.
I'm here at Manistee, Michigan, Manistee County.
Thad Taylor.
Present, the city of Manistee, Manistee County.
Jody Walter.
Present, Little River Casino, Manistee County.
James Boudrie.
Present, city of Manistee, Manistee County.
Bruce Allen.
Present, city of Manistee, Manistee County.
Ken Urban.
Present, city of Manistee, Manistee County.
Karen Goodman.
Present, city of Manistee, Manistee County.
Annie Jacobson.
Present, city of Manistee, Manistee County.
And Tamara is not going to be here today, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for joining us, Bruce. Okay, so moving again to approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thanks, Thad.
I'll support.
Thank you, Ken. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Kyle Mosier.
Yes.
Thad Taylor.
Yes.
Ken Urban.
Yes.
Karen Goodman.
Yes.
Annie Jacobson.
Yes.
Jody Walter.
Yes.
Bruce Allen.
Yes.
James Boudrie.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great, thank you. Item 3, public comment. Hopefully Barry knows how to unmute if he wants to comment. All right, moving on. Thanks for joining us, Barry. Approval of minutes from March 10, 2021 regular meeting. Any discussion or questions on those minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Thad.
I'll second.
Thank you, James. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Thad Taylor.
Yes.
James Boudrie.
Yes.
Annie Jacobson.
Yes.
Jody Walter.
Yes.
Bruce Allen.
Yes.
Kyle Mosier.
Yes.
Karen Goodman.
Yes.
Ken Urban.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, everyone. Moving on to item 5, approval of minutes from March 23, 2021 special meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, James.
Support.
This is Jody. I'll second.
Who beat Jody?
Bruce, sorry.
It's okay.
That's okay.
next time, Jody. Thank you, Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, Ken Urban.
Yes.
Karen Goodman.
Yes.
Kyle Mosier.
Yes.
Bruce Allen.
Yes.
Jody Walter.
Yes.
Annie Jacobson.
Yes.
James Boudrie.
Yes.
Thad Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Kelly. Item 6, financials. Would you like to present anything, Christina?
No, these are just standard invoices. Kyle, by the way, that should say March 2021. I apparently love to live in 2020 every time I do this.
Don't we all? No problem.
So by the end of this year, I'll get it right and we'll be moving to next year. The biggest expenses were the first 2 quarters of the enhanced service agreement.
Okay.
So those were billed in January and I just missed those because the dumpster crawl came through. So
okay.
Nothing other is outstanding, different than what we've talked about or have in the budget.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments about financials? If there is none, I would entertain a motion for approval as presented.
This is Ken. I'd move that we approve the financials for March 2021.
Thank you, Ken.
Support.
Thank you, James. We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Kyle Mosher,
Yes.
Ken Urban,
Yes.
Karen Goodman,
yes,
Annie Jacobson,
Yes.
Bruce Allen,
yes,
Ed Taylor,
yes,
James Boudrie,
Yes.
Jody Walter.
yes,
Motion passed.
Wonderful. Thank you. Approval of expenses. I guess we have to do that separately, don't we?
Yes.
All right. Any questions about expenses for discussion? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to move for approval of the expenses.
I'd make that motion to approve expenses in the amount of $42,608.
Thanks, Thad.
I'll support the motion.
Thank you, Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Kelly.
Okay, Jody Walter,
yes,
James Boudrie,
Yes.
Ed Taylor,
Yes,
Bruce Allen,
Yes,
Annie Jacobson,
Yes.
Karen Goodman,
yes,
Ken Urban,
Yes.
Kyle Mosher.
Yes.
Passed.
All right. Thanks again. Item 6B, West Shore Community College Riverwalk Plaza Facade Grant.
I'll take this one, Kyle. It's actually supposed to be two separate things. There should have been an and in there just as an FYI, but the Riverwalk Plaza, been working with the college CFO on discussion with that, as well as a facade grant for a contract. So the Riverwalk Plaza, Thad and I had a meeting with Scott Ward briefly on Monday, and Mark was there also, that he's asking if we can pay the full balance of that to the college once the bond is approved and the proceeds come in, if we can do that in a lump sum. Just think it's cleaner and easier for everybody. So I just wanted to bring that to the board so that we can get that moved forward for the college.
Okay.
And then as far as the facade grant, that contract is out, and I believe they are taking that to the Board of Trustees on Monday for approval on that, so we can get that going as well and starting to make those payments.
And just for clarity, that's for the $500,000 that we
Correct.
agreed to spend on the enhanced facade for West Shore Community College.
So I
Okay.
think once we can get those two big items checked off and get payments rolling, and then once the bond's approved and the proceeds come in, we should be able to, if all agrees to pay that lump sum, we should be good to go.
Cool.
so this, it would seem like two separate motions are in order because there are two separate topics. I'm open to other opinions.
I guess I'm not sure. Is there anything to vote on at this time, since they're just, well, I don't think that we have anything to vote on, do we?
I don't know.
Kyle, both of those are in the TIF plan. In our design or our development plan, there's 250,000 already slated. That was adopted on February 18th, 2020 in this document.
Right,
And
but
5,000 for the college.
I guess what I'm saying is, since we're still working out the details of that contract, I don't think we have anything to vote on at this time.
Yeah, I was not questioning that, that these are, documented in our TIF plan. It was just, if we need board approval and agreement to, as an example, pay the Riverwalk Plaza in a lump sum when bond proceeds are available. I didn't know if that was an appropriate motion at this time, or if we could just delay it until we get the bonds.
I see. Okay.
I think for the college's purpose, if we're able to make a motion and get that moving forward, I think that they would be open and happy that we did that. So just to throw that out there.
Okay. That makes sense.
I guess I'm confused. So it is in the plan. We have it committed to it as part of our plan. And now they want us to also, I mean, can't we just send a letter in writing? I don't understand why we have to make a motion for it. We're not spending the money right now, but we could endorse by sending a letter from the downtown development saying that we endorse this project and it's part of our TIF plan. And then when the money does come through, then we make a motion to spend
Yeah.
it.
And then Karen, I like that idea. I would just expand on the letter, just that, you know, the intent of the DDA board at this time is to go out for bonds, and this would be included in the bonds. And once we have the
Yes.
bond proceeds, we would pay in full.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't see a motion here yet, but I do see a need to give them something so that they know that we're not just faking it. You know, we're going to be part of this. So
I'd be fine with either.
sure.
And
Will that work? Do you
just-
think, Stacy?
Yeah, Ken, you were gonna, I think, jumping in.
yeah, I just needed clarity because I missed most of the special meeting. You know, several points were made about the facade grant not being fundable with bond proceeds. So just help me understand, because I'm fairly new to the bond side here, what how we ensure that we don't use any of the bond proceeds for facade. I mean, doesn't the money become essentially fungible once it enters our accounts? Or do we keep it separate in a separate account and we don't pay for any kind of facade work out of the bond proceeds? How do we do that? What's the mechanics of that process?
And I can address that. Is we have an agreement that we've presented to the college for their approval that stipulates that we would pay that facade grant over a 20-year period, $25,000 a year. So that's kind of off the table with bond proceeds, because we've already committed that out of our annual operating budget.
Okay. That's helpful.
Thanks, Thad.
But back to the Riverwalk Plaza, I think, yeah, Karen, if either a motion or if we do a letter just stating that we can put that in writing for them so that their board of trustees know what the DDA's intention. They know we've approved it, but just how it's going to get paid, because once they start making those upgrades and improvements, they're obviously going to want to know when the cash will be coming in from that.
Can't we just like go wink, wink? Yeah, it'll be there. Checks in the mail.
I don't
Oh,
think.
darn it.
Yeah, no, and I would suggest, you know, if they want something more, you could always attach a copy of the approved minutes that, you know, reflects this discussion.
And I'd be happy with doing a letter of intent as well, if that suffices. So either way.
And are we okay to put that once the bond proceeds come in, that we will pay out the remaining balance?
It's fine with me.
Yeah.
I think the title that Kyle just used, letter of intent, is perfect. That should be the subject heading.
I'll have my secretary draw it up.
Yeah, you know, I think it's important to understand that in essence, the college is fronting that $500,000 on the facade and allowing us to pay it back over time. So I think they've been a good partner to work with, and they're making a request now for the full payment of the Riverwalk Plaza. And I think that's a good compromise between the two projects.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so shall we agree that a letter of intent is appropriate then for this?
I'm in agreement with it.
Yeah,
All
that
right,
sounds good.
I support it.
cool. Then I'm going to move on. To committee reports. Design committee, Ken.
Friday, we did a walkthrough of not the entire DDA, but the Riverwalk and River Street. We had a good group of people along with us and had good discussion with Jeff McCullough, DPW director. We spent about 2.5 hours doing the walkthrough. We took a lot of photos. We're in the process of compiling that and pulling it together. had a lot of good discussion, among other things, the landscaping down along the river. We learned about the way that they're handling invasive species along the Japanese knotweed along the Riverwalk. We did have a discussion about pulling up some bushes near where the boat is docked, because there was some general concern about where we stage 75 or 80 people waiting to get on board on the Riverwalk. So our recommendation was that we pull some of those some of that shrubbery along the retaining wall there. As we came down River Street, we did a lot of talk about traffic calming. And one of the things the design committee met this week, and one of the things we are suggesting that DPW do for us, is to get pricing for 5 semi-permanent crosswalk signs that could go along River Street at the intersections. These would be actually placed into a concrete sheath that went down below the level of the street, so they could be taken up and removed, but wouldn't interfere with snowplows in the winter. And just as a test, and they would essentially run down River Street, and then there was discussion about putting one at the corner of 5th and Washington as well, given all the traffic down there with North Channel. So it was a good exercise and well worth the time that we put into it, I think. Any questions about what else was going on at design committee, or anything you think I missed, Kyle?
I think that covered it. The biggest thing was that walkthrough, which I thought was productive, and certainly helps the DPW with direction and how we see things as well. So.
And I would like to add that DPW did bring in 2 of their summer help several weeks early to concentrate on the Riverwalk primarily, and when that's done, get going on the park. So they understand that the appearance of the Riverwalk is very important. So they're getting after it.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. And I've witnessed them in the parking lots as well in the last couple of weeks cleaning up. So.
Yeah, among other things, we also talked about even considering some kind of recognition for best River Street facing property and best Riverwalk facing property as a way to kind of encourage people to upgrade their properties and the look and feel. We as a board also have talked about facade grants for the Riverside versus in addition to the River Street side. So that's something that we're going to continue to talk about. We're also going to continue to talk about upgrading the streetscape and getting support from City Council on that. I've already reached out to the chair of the Historic District Commission just to see if we should sit down and talk about what streetscape stuff would need to be discussed that would impinge on their remit. So we are active and trying to move forward.
Thanks, Ken. Any questions? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of at a disadvantage because I don't have my computer today, so I can't raise my hand. So I apologize if I'm interrupting. Ken, did we want to also maybe bring up what Jeff was telling us about with the bridges and some of the bridge work that and the rerouting that was going to be taking place?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Jody. Thanks for reminding me. Jeff told us that MDOT is going to do a major rework on the US 31 bridge, I think in 2022, did he say?
Yeah.
So that would be a major rework and would close the bridge down for a significant period of time. He said that it was somewhere north of $10 million that's budgeted for that work. That includes channel work and deck work, a whole bunch of effort. His initial thought, he told us, he shared with us, was routing traffic down Monroe to Washington and then Washington to First and then out. But that means we need to start thinking about signage to encourage people to get into the downtown as they're making that detour. That's a great opportunity to kind of peel them off and take them onto River Street and at least encourage that. But that's going to be a big disruption downtown. We have to think how we can ensure that the businesses east of Maple Street don't get cut off from the bridge being closed, because if they're detoured onto First Street when they're coming north, that means they won't turn down that first section of River Street. So we need to figure out how we're going to do that. But we've got plenty of warnings, so we need to think about it and have a comprehensive plan. And I think, at least my opinion is, it would start in the design committee as a place to talk about that plan, and then we'd bring stuff forward to the rest of you. But I really appreciate Jody reminding me of that. That's going to be a big disruption, but it's also a big opportunity.
I'll just make one quick comment. This actually happened, it was over 10 years or so ago, work on that bridge and a similar detour. And we were able to take advantage of it and put signage on the back sides of some of the buildings on the riverside, and encourage people to turn down Division. So I agree, it gives us some time to work on it and actually use the detour to our advantage, I think. So. Cool.
Kyle?
Yep.
We should talk about the DPW projects for this year and the budget.
Okay.
The dumpster corrals got missed from 2019 with the way the billing went, and so they have been added into the DDA design project budget. So we're at $48,000 on that line item. And so I didn't know if we wanted to look. We can't really give a budget to do any spring work or things like that. Did we want to look at amending the budget with council, or did we want to try and move out of different line items? Or Thad, do you have an opinion? Ed and I briefly talked yesterday that we could do that, an amendment, that this does happen quite a bit, that projects don't fall in the same year that they're budgeted for. And the budget just needs to get amended so that we have that cash flow freed up if we have some other projects we'd like to tackle. Otherwise, the design budget for this year is spent plus some.
If I'm going to defer to Ed, because if he's okay with a budget amendment as we've done with others, I'm good with that.
I would second that. Just in my opinion, it was something that was budgeted for. It didn't get transferred correctly in the transition. So all intents and purposes are there, but it would certainly handcuff the design committee plus some if we couldn't get that amended.
Okay. Thank you. Do we need to vote on that? Is that a motion that I would need to do, or we need to do?
I think we would.
Okay.
I don't know that we have enough to vote on. Perhaps Christina, you could work with Ed on that. We have a budget amendment form and fill one of those out, and then our board would have some clarity on what we're actually voting on in terms of dollar amounts.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we can move on to business development. Mark Miller.
Kyle, thank you. And we'll make this fairly quick. We are hoping to get started on some work for Spark Light, the event in September. And so committee discussion in our last meeting about that. We also had some discussion about Entrepreneurial Day, which took place March 25th and 26th. That was a very successful program. We have it recorded for future use, which I think will be probably of equal value, if not more, for people to eventually look at these sessions when they have time to review them. But we had a really great group of speakers, and hopefully that will spark up some better trained and prepared entrepreneurial efforts in the future. Last piece for you is that we had some discussion about using the revolving loan funds from the DDA. And my next assignment is to try to locate and identify the procedures we've used in the past and put forward some ideas on how to make that an easy and an easy process for the future. So our next meeting is next Wednesday morning. So it's the 21st. So we are looking forward to that discussion, and I will, for the committee members, will do my best to try to dig up and have that material ready for the revolving loan fund discussion.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark?
Mark, just quickly, you had said that you're going to hold Spark in September, or, well, I didn't catch that totally. What?
So there will be a smaller pitch event, which, you know, actually we should question where we're at with this, but we were going to hold a virtual event focused solely on e-commerce or similar types of transitions. It would be open for not just new businesses, but also existing businesses. So if someone wanted to learn more about or how to transition towards diversifying their retail to have shipping or online ordering, that would be a subject matter for the pitch.
Okay.
Would be virtual and would be of smaller value than the regular full-on pitch competition that's been done in the past. We were looking for something in 2022 to do that larger pitch process. With things starting, although it's darkest before the dawn, with things starting to get a little bit better with COVID, we might want to think about that September event possibly even being in person. But we have a lead for the committee, the subcommittee to work on that, and we just need to get going on the details.
Great, thank you very much.
Can I ask, I'm sorry, could I ask Mark, what's going on? Is there anything going on with Hotel Northern on Washington Street?
Yeah, there have been a number of interested buyers. And although I haven't learned of any agreed to sale, there have been a number of people that have been in contact with me about all the potential incentives for that property. So there's probably been a lot of talk around town about people going in and out and viewing it, but we don't have anything set yet. I will tell you that one thing that we have done working with the city is to set up the potential for an Oprah. So the city assessor has already previewed the property and determined that it's eligible for an obsolete property designation. She's made that, Molly's made that designation. And so that's one step in the incentive process, so that when a buyer comes in and then develops a plan, they can submit an Oprah application to city for city council approval and then the state approval afterwards. So we've taken steps to incent a purchaser to have that, and because it will most likely be needed. But there have been a number of people who have contacted the chamber to ask for help and assistance, and the realtors are also sending them to us. So that's what's going on, but nothing solid yet. But there have been some really good, honest looks at whether that would be a viable project.
Could I suggest, you know, we've got sort of anchor projects at both ends of the DDA. You know, with Fracano's, the West Shore, and the Gateway project. You know, getting something going on the hotel there, I think would really stimulate development. So if you know, your recommendation would be to wait, the market's going to take care of this, that's fine. But if you could think about whether we should do something to further incentivize that, you know, I think we'd be open to recommendations.
Thank you, Bruce, for that. And let me also add, I should have mentioned this, but you know, several months ago, we made a presentation to the City Council and to a joint meeting of all the boards and commissions relevant on the Redevelopment Ready Communities program that MEDC has. The Northern Hotel was on that list for consideration, and they will make the cut. So we will have that program marketing the property. We have the Oprah ready to move forward once there's a plan for developing the property. I will put some thought into whether there's something else that we can do to incent and market that, but that would be one of our target properties, both for the RRC and for a future Developer Day event. So we're very cognizant of that. But I think you're right. If we can have some forethought about how to create an incentive package ahead of time on something as important as an anchor property that would increase pedestrian traffic and visitation, absolutely need to do that. I just need a little bit more capacity to have that kind of proactive thought.
I understand. It takes a lot of preparation to be really quick on your feet. And speaking of that, I told you guys, you know, separately, but I just want to say this publicly. Nice job getting that boat here. You know, Ken, you know, the chamber, I am sure somebody at the city, Thad, and others moved lightning fast to get those folks an answer. We moved fast and we got something that was very important. Way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, everyone. Let me just say something. It was a team effort. Ken and Beth Urban, Thad Taylor and Jeff McCula, and then the chamber team, Christina and I both worked on this. But it was a matter of hours of learning about the newspaper article and having the capacity to reach out to Thad and Jeff and say, is this possible? And then talk to the business owner that day. That made a big impression. And it wasn't just one conversation, it was numerous conversations. But we were able to give him a tour of the marina, Thad, Jeff and I, and you know, I think that also because of the way we have our asset there, our marina is in really good shape. That sealed the deal. So thank you for the notice and for the accolades, but it was absolutely a team effort. And it's because we have the capacity for this program and the support of the DDA for economic development. That's what makes this happen. So thank you. Chairman, what's next?
Well, thank you, Mark, and thanks, Bruce. Appreciate that and everybody involved. So I think we're moving on to item 8 for director's report.
So I just wanted to thank staff again. I know the budget process has been a lot of work, so everyone's had a big hand in that to get that through. So now Christina's working on some of the permits for downtown and getting all that. So a lot of the logistical things as well. And then once we get past kind of all that, we're going to start taking a look at the website and some of those things in quarterly reporting on communications and things like that that'll go out. But we've got to get kind of the financials, the budget approved, and then we'll move forward on that process. I also want to thank our accountants, because our new accountants, they jumped right in and worked with our team and got everything going. So I think that'll be a smoother transition and what we need going forward. So they've done a great job so far. So thank you to them on that. So a lot of that stuff will get moving forward once we kind of secure the budget and things like that. I think that'll free up a little more time to start streamlining other things. So with that, I'll turn it over to my staff to kind of report on their areas.
Thanks, Stacy. Christina?
Yeah. So we had a merchant meeting this week. Goodies and Fillmore both, which Fillmore wasn't on, but I've heard from both of them. They are looking to do the expansion into the 2 parking spaces to have seating, especially the way things are being projected currently. They want to have as many outdoor opportunities as possible. So that's something they want to discuss more, and we probably should. The merchant meetings are going to go to once a month now, the 3rd Tuesday. So it's after the DDA meeting, so we can report out on anything that we want to bring to the merchants. That's where, oh, and the restaurants, Goodies was saying that, of course, they're having staffing issues, which we're hearing across the board, especially in the restaurant industry. So they want to reach out. I will connect them with the other restaurants owners to see if they could balance between the downtown restaurants, who's open, who's closed, so that there's options. But they wanted to be a good partner at that, but they're looking to go down to 5 days a week. They'll probably take off 2 during the summer, which is their busiest months. They just don't have the staffing to be open. So unfortunate that, but they want to try not to be closed when everyone else, so they maybe can stagger that to service the downtown. That was kind of the most important takeaway on the merchant meeting, unless Ken has something else you'd like to add.
One of the things that that was shared on the walkthrough was and also at the walkthrough and also at the design committee, was one of the committee members had seen in another town businesses with small 4-foot tall, not feather flags, but more like pennants that said open with some building silhouettes at the bottom of these little banners. And the committee member said it was very nice to be able to look down the street and see these little open signs sitting out in the sidewalk all the way down the street. They were at eye level, very easy to see. Kind of gave you an impetus to make a walk down the street. And given, so we talked to the merchants about that. And there was kind of mixed interest in it. But the idea, at least what this committee member told us, is those signs were provided by the DDA in that city. And they would be just something that we threw out to the merchants and kind of got a mixed response on. But keep in mind that these merchant meetings are really not representative of the merchants. We get maybe 10 people that show up at these meetings. So we're talking to a sample of a sample. So we kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. But I thought that was a good thing that we brought up to him and talked to him about.
Okay. Anything else?
The spring conference I found very worthwhile with the outdoor looking in and also social districts. And so when we get to that, we can talk more about it. But it was nice to come together with a lot of other downtowns and get to see what they're doing and the ideas they had. So I really feel that's a value. And going forward, I will attend those sessions as they're necessary to some of the projects that we have. That's all I have this morning.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christina. Economic development, Mark?
Thank you, Kyle. So we've already covered a number of things that I wanted to report on. So Entrepreneurial Day, the Northern Hotel, and the Ludington Boat Tour Company. But we have a few other things to keep you updated on. One, Fricano's continues to move forward. They're doing demolition inside. And so the timeline is stretching through the summer, but they're trying to have an ambitious construction bit of work. I work with Ted quite a bit and expect him to submit a full facade grant this week. But that is continuing to move forward, and he's very pleased and happy to be coming to Manistee. The next piece too, we mentioned the red flag issue a while back about budding entrepreneurs having difficulty finding buildings to lease in downtown. We have been working on an informational questionnaire for building owners to help us inventory and to understand the needs of the building owners as well. And so we hope to get that out when we have some time, and then be able to gather that up and do some more homework on how we might be able to help these businesses come in and find a home on River Street or elsewhere within the district. And then lastly, a good deal of work and discussion has gone on about the Lakeshore Hotel project. Of course, it's not within the district, but it will have an impact. And one of the things that we did at the most recent Planning Commission meeting on April 1st was to submit a business sign-on letter in support of that project. And we had 21 businesses representing over 800 employees locally for that project. We're still soliciting businesses to join onto that letter for the next meeting. It's a very positive thing to send a voice to the Planning Commission members that the business community is supportive of this. And there's a really good reason why. When we presented to the Planning Commission on April 1st, there was some data that we had put together with the help of the developer. They are expecting around 65,000 visitors a year in the hotel. And when you do the Pure Michigan average daily spend number on that of $283, you get to an $18 million visitor spend in our communities in our area. And you can also break that down using the MEDC Pure Michigan numbers. That means $2.5 million spent in the area on retail, 4.1 million additional dollars circulated in our communities for restaurants. It also includes an ambitious number of 1.4 million spent on air travel and local transportation to get here, 3.3 million. So that's a really impressive set of numbers. And, being that this project would be a flagged hotel, it should help put Manistee on the map and bring more unique visitors with those Hilton loyalty points to our community and see what we have to offer. So we are still working towards support and working through that with the developer, with the city, and with the county planning department. And we're on track and have some, we'll have some more discussion at the next planning commission. So Kyle, I'll open that up for questions on that note.
Okay, any questions for Mark? All right, Mark, thanks for all your efforts on that. I know it's taken up a lot of time, so we appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, moving on to old business. Item A, social districts, James and Christina. Well,
I'll let Christina take over on this. I hit roadblocks when I was trying to communicate to the DDA in Ludington. So Christina's got some things she could touch on for sure. She did some good work with this.
Thanks, James. So at the conference, Muskegon was there as well as Northville, and they both have different attacks of this, how they actually approached it. Northville did a really nice job and actually has shared their complete packet, but they put a lot of planning and time. Their whole city is called Timeless with a Twist. That's their city theme. And then the social district they have is called The Twist. They have a logo, they have banners, they have signage. So when you walk into the district, you know the hours, you're welcomed. And then when you walk out of the district, on the back of the sign, it says you're leaving the district. All the cups match, all the, everything is coordinated. Muskegon has a 12 block, they have a 2 block, and they also close the streets in Northville. So we do have all of that paperwork that we can utilize to do our own, but we may need prior planning if we want it to be successful with that signage and such. So wanted to get the group's thoughts on how we move forward with that. Maybe Thad had some comments. It could be very doable. I'd like to see us do it right with some intention. So it's not put, thrown together at the last minute. I'd like to make sure that if we are going to do it, it's, we do it in an upscale fashion and have all those marketing pieces that we could potentially need.
Well, Christina, I'll volunteer myself and our police chief to serve on that planning committee.
Okay.
Because, I'm supportive of the concept. In previous discussions with our police chief, he's supportive of it, obviously with the caveat that it's just, it has to be done correctly. So would be willing to help. He doesn't know it yet, but he's involved.
I'll help out too, Christina. And actually I'd like to even throw out knowing about the 2022 bridge, work, and just thinking down the road, things like our farmers market. I know Ludington kind of puts their farmer market in that social area as well. I just think that we have to have a bigger vision on this, knowing what's coming our way too, so that if we, like looking at that parking lot, it's not going to work having things like that there. So can in our social area or social section or where we'll call it, is it going to be big enough for adding some of these other things in there? So yeah, I'll be happy to work with you on that too.
And no, I did talk with the farmers market. We had heard that they potentially were moving out of downtown. I did touch base with the lead there, and they are not moving. They enjoy that parking lot because of the shade. And so they were not interested in a new location downtown at this point.
Unless we give them a really good spot.
Yeah. I tried to suggest like in the marina, like in front of the marina where we had like Grapes on the River and some of the other events. And I didn't get much response to that. So
yeah, till they find out the bridge will be out.
I've been courting them for 3 years to come downtown, and I'm just amazed at the resistance to relocating. And I even offered, on a temporary basis, once a month or something. They're not interested.
And thank you, Karen, Thad. I will get Chief Glass. James, will you still?
I want to be on that committee too. Yep.
I fully support social districts for Manistee, so I'd be happy to help in any way. I'd like to see this happen sooner. I've been to several cities where this was in place, quite a long time ago. So it'd be really nice to get this moving. And even if it has to be adjusted and amended to allow other areas down the road, if that's possible, but just to get something in place so we're moving forward for this spring and summer.
Okay, I'll get.
I agree. It sounds like you have a lot of support and lots of volunteers, but if you need another one, feel free to involve me as well.
Thanks, Annie. Okay, let's move on to items 10s. A, outdoor dining platforms. Christina.
I feel like I'm talking a lot this meeting. Kyle,
you are.
Sorry, I got good stuff from there. You shouldn't let me go to conferences.
I know.
So I sent with the packet some of the dining platforms. This is from Milford, I think is the name of the city. And there's been Chelsea, I believe, is using these. And so this was another idea since we were tackling a platform issue from a DDA standard. I know it's been mentioned that next year we weren't going to allow, or it wasn't allowed. Maybe I'm saying that incorrectly. Kyle, you can correct me. The orange barricades and what we want the city to look like for not only our tourists, but our residents. So these came up. I thought they were fairly affordable and wanted to see if this was something that maybe we wanted to set a standard around, if we wanted to offer potentially maybe a revolving loan, if we could get the restaurants on board. Here's our issue now. We either have to invest in more of those orange barricades this year to put out at the Fillmore Goodies. Both have expressed for 2 parking spaces we do not have anymore. Or is it, if we're going to go down a route that we're going to have a standardization or platforms or whatever that looks like, do we want to look at something like this? And how does the board feel?
Christina, do you have a ballpark number on what it would do? I mean, what would it cost to do one business?
If for 2 parking spaces, that I would estimate about $9,000 with the planters. The planters can actually be filled with brick fat, and then the plants go on top of that. So I think that is why the other cities have allowed those. So we can run that by Chief Glass, but I thought that might be a nice option. And they also have that parking, the cement or like a curb insert of the curb around with a 45-degree angle at the end, if you've seen that in one of the pictures. And they said that was really inexpensive to place there, but it protects those tiles. The tiles then are pulled up. They're not attached to the street. They allow for drainage. And then the pedestals, the round pedestals underneath, they're at adjustable levels. So at the curb, they're higher. And as the street slopes up to the center, it goes up, they're shorter. So it's just a neat system that can be placed in the winter. The tiles can be stored outside. They're weather resistant and they're light. They're only about 12 pounds a piece, he said. Whereas if you go with the cement, it's less costly. However, they're 90 pounds for each square. So makes kind of a difference in installation. And then they did install 6 platforms with their DPW actually did the work for them in Milford. And they did it for 6 platforms in 2.5 days on top of their normal mowing and cleaning and other scheduled work. So they just kind of fit it in.
One suggestion I have in terms of funding, the city's going to get an unknown amount of money to expend from that American Rescue Plan. Don't know exactly what it is. You know, the guesstimates are somewhere over $600,000 that we would expend over 3 years. And there's very minimal guidance been offered so far, but the one I think it would fit exactly on point is to respond to the pandemic or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses and nonprofits, or to aid impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality.
Yep.
So I think we need to reach out to the council at the appropriate time, because what we're hearing, we won't know with any degree of certainty what the guidance is or the amount we're going to get until probably mid-May. But I know the city was supportive of these areas that we've offered downtown. And I think it's not a stretch of the imagination to see that they would at least partner with the DDA, if not pay the whole freight. But I think it's an ask we have to make. And I like what you're showing here. It's much classier than what we offer right now. And we could either, we could just offer them for free to businesses or charge them a nominal fee to recover the cost of installation or whatever. But, I'm very supportive of the project.
Yeah, thank you, Thad. I agree. And if necessary, we could look at this as a 2-part deal where, the planters provide the safety aspect of it if Chief Glass and council agrees. And the platforms could be a secondary thing, not 100% necessary, but if the funds are available, we could use the platforms as well, which certainly makes them look nice and stand out. But I think we should take it to council for those dollars would be sooner than later.
I agree, Kyle, that the monies that are being released, that was exactly what I was thinking too, Thad. It covers the small business piece of it and it covers the COVID piece of it. So I think you've got 2 elements, I think out of the 3 or 4 categories that they go by. But the one thing about the platforms and I would love to see those happen because liability wise, I'm just always think about the twisted ankles. I'm one of those people that would probably trip off the curb, to get to the picnic table at Taco Bell, whatever. But it does make it a lot nicer. It makes it easier for being able to kind of just walk onto, the dining area. And again, I also really want to see those flower boxes used. It does class it up. And, it will finally put some more greenery down on our River Street, which, I've always been advocating for trees or something sitting down there, even if we have to put them in movable containers. It just needs more aesthetics to the downtown.
And I'd say that this really ratchets up the need for a overarching standard, because the questions that pop up in my head are these only for restaurants? You know, how often have we all tried to navigate our way down the sidewalk outside of Glick's because they had all sorts of clothing racks out there? Is that a way for Glick's to expand their shopping experience outside? Is there a way for, you know, if we've got social districts, could you have a beer tap sitting out there? You know, that's the kind of questions we have to ask. And unless we have a standard, we'll be making it up as we go along. So.
And Ken, my only thought on that, you know, I agree. I don't think we need to limit it just to restaurants or food venues. I think in my mind, the only limiting factor is the willingness of the downtown merchants to lose parking spots and what kind of pushback we would get. But, you know, Glick's would be, certainly I was thinking of Glick's, Snyder's would be another good example. I think there's many more up and down River Street, but yeah.
You know, I would
Go ahead,
say,
Mark.
I mean,
Oh, go ahead, James.
During what we're going through right now, a lot of that stuff does make sense, and I would agree with you, Ken. I think that Glick's has a sidewalk sale every day in the summer, so they might be a little bit more of an exception. I don't understand why they're always putting stuff outside, but you know, moving forward, I'm not sure that. I think what we need to do first is see if all the restaurants are on with this. If they are, you know, let's focus on that, and then just kind of maybe try to dovetail everybody else after that. But the sooner we can get something like this on the books and moving, the better. I'm just fearful that we're going to be bleeding into June, end of June, beginning of July, and then we're going to be caught up in the same situation we were last year when we were trying to figure out platforms for restaurants, and then it just never came to fruition. So my 2 cents, but just to roll the bowling ball down the lane and get things going is where I'm at.
Would it be helpful if the chamber put together a proposal, Thad, for city council with the cost, the businesses that are interested? Because I'm in agreement with James too. And I know Mark and Christina worked hard to get in the business that donated the orange, but I'm kind of on the same lines as I don't want to piecemeal it. And we have quite a opportunity to change the look and feel of our downtown this year and going forward. And it starts that change that we all want. And I'll use Mark's positive incremental change. Yes, hashtag Mark. But if we can start doing that, and then we get the social districts, we're starting really to build that momentum that I think we all want. But I think we got to push some of this a little faster so that we are into June getting this going. So Christina, if we get this approved, didn't they say 5 to 7 days that this could, if we were to go with that company that you've talked to, that they could get everything ordered? And you're on mute,
Christina.
Sorry, there's always one in the group. Yes, as of last week, all of these materials are stocked in the US, at least for the tiles and the pedestals that they sit on. And like Nicole, I talked to her at Filmer and I believe Mark did as well. She has her furniture coming in next week. She doesn't even have any barricades. So I said, you can't put it on the street without having those safety guidelines. And she's like, well, I'm fully in support of these platforms. And I don't know if she'd even do a cost share. We kind of briefly discussed a little bit, but if that's the only thing that I worry about is the mid-May. Because then by the time we install, we probably be end of June. And the other thing is, the farther we push out an order, or if we are going to move forward, other people are starting to order all their outdoor stuff, and will the stock go down? So I don't know.
If in the interest of keeping this moving, would it be appropriate to approve this concept, this look, or is that premature?
Personally, I don't think it's premature.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're right on. It's like we could say we want to see platforms used. We want to see these flower box security around the enclosure, just setting that formal or setting a loose but yet, specific kind of outline and then just push it through.
I think if it comes from us, the DDA, then it gives Chief Glass something to act on. It gives us that much quicker. We can take it to council for approval, and if funds become available in whatever way, then we can move.
Yeah,
So-
we also know that we're taking 2 parking spots. We want, some sort of platforms, removable platforms and removable barriers that are like flower boxes.
Mhm.
And we've got to outline.
And I'm 100% supportive too. I didn't want anyone to think that by specifying the need for standards, that was my intent to slow it down. I think that's why I said we need to ratchet up the speed on developing the standard. We can do that in conjunction with this. Yeah, let's move forward on platforms. I think that's a good solution and well worth doing.
Could I suggest, James's point about, moving this along quickly, and the point that this should be an ongoing part of an ongoing effort to develop standards. I think those are both terrific. The thing that we need for the council, though, is the short-term plan. How many of these things, what the total dollar amount is, where we're going to put them. That's my suggestion for the short term. And this seems to fit into the general framework that we're going to be developing longer term, for the standards. Ken, does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. I think we can approve a concept or a look and feel that we approve of, and at the same time have present it to council. So sorry, lost my train of thought there. Yeah.
This is Jody. I'm sorry. I just have a question for Thad. Thad, does the city build into their budget any sort of contingency funding so that if something like this were to come forward, they could fund it and then backfill that with any monies that they might realize in mid-May?
Well, they could always dip into the fund balance to do something like that. So that's certainly a possibility. So I'll go offline with Stacy or Christina and just talk to them about possible ways to expedite this through the city and what they're going to need to present. So I don't want to take up the board's time on that.
Okay.
So should we make a motion that expresses the DDA's support for this concept?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the DDA express interest in deploying platforms for businesses within the DDA.
I'll second.
Okay, motion from Ken, second from Thad. Any discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay. Thad Taylor.
Yes, City of Manistee, Manistee County.
All right.
Just wanted to interject a little levity to this conversation. It's getting stale.
We're not just beginning. All right. James Boudrie.
Yes.
Karen Goodman.
Yes.
Annie Jacobson.
Yes.
Jody Walter.
Yes.
Bruce Allen.
Yes.
Kyle Mosier.
Yes.
Ken Urban.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Okay, moving on to DDA development plan, bond priorities, and board discussion. Who's going to take this one? Me? You're still muted.
I know. I was trying to be muted so you would take it.
Then I'll move on
No.
to C.
No, no. As a board, just getting direction. I didn't know how you wanted to proceed. If we move forward with the bond, the two things that we had identified were the River Street streetscape and then the river walk itself. And so in the TIF development plan, we had about $750,000 allocated for Riverwalk improvements, meaning placemaking. And then in the River Street side, there was 1.45 million for placemaking improvements due to the age and the structure of the street. So there's that's kind of vague. And so I think at the board may have some ideas. What are our top 5 in each of them? What are the top 10? What do we want to see? And I don't know where that discussion starts or how we go long-term on that to determine those priorities. So if the bond comes through, here's our list of things. And then would that be thrown back to the design committee to find options for those? Or how does that work, Kyle?
Personally, I'd like to see a work session for this in particular, so we can just sit and talk together about how we want to do this. I think this is a bigger discussion, and I think a more informal setting or a work session would be beneficial. That's my thoughts on it.
Everyone agree?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. So Christina, will you work on scheduling that for us?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Then moving on to item C, for Kano's facade update / grant. Christina put some proposed renovations in the board packet. I think it's right at the end. Is this just sort of is this an ask yet? Is this a presentation?
Just to be prepared. You going, Mark? Okay.
Yeah, Christine, you certainly could take this, but this was their first initial bit of work, which Ted shared. And so it's a little preliminary because we need to have a grant application. And as I stated earlier, Ted is working on that with his general contractor, Rick Slater. We hope to have that sometime this week, probably even Thursday. So this is a preliminary look. And I think it's just to keep you informed on what's going. Ted's being very open and inclusive in his work. And so this is just the first piece that he sent over. So I don't think there's an actionable item here, but if you have any discussion, we can take that back to Ted.
My question when I saw this is, and this is just me needing to learn, is Fricano's in the historic district?
It is in the historic district, but the building is not what's considered a building of significant or significance buildings. So it's in there. He will have a consultation with Mark Fetter over the look, but it's not something that needs the full on discussion from the historic commission.
My only comment would be just appreciate what he's doing and his willingness to be open and share.
I'd like to comment. I thought that what he submitted was very reminiscent of what his building is down in Holland, and I really liked it. I think it's going to add a lot to downtown, and I'm thrilled that he's here.
Do you mean in Muskegon?
He's got one in Holland too that's got that very similar facade.
Oh, I believe that's a different family member, but okay.
Well, but to Jody's point, I just want to say, Ted approached me months ago with the need for facade work, and he really was struggling with how do I fit in with the historic nature of Manistee. So we started having some of those kind of conversations, and he's yeah, he is aware of what they've done in other places and wants to be consistent with our character. And so we gave him some ideas and talked about Mark Fetter, and so I think that's a real positive. Also, too, just so you're all informed, he will need to replace the blower for the kitchen, which if you looked at the front of the building now, you can see the equipment. But he needs that replaced because it's also too close to the street side. So he needs to bring it up to code. Significant expense for him. One of the ways that he's going to deal with that is to build up the facade so it will cover that equipment and keep it hidden from sight. And so you're seeing some of that in these initial renderings, so that be a little bit of a height extension, but it should blend in better. And will be of some sort of treatment that will improve the parcel.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Can we move on to public comment? Okay, moving on. Item 11, public comment. Anyone from the public that would like to comment? 5 minutes or less? Hearing none? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Wait.
Oh, yeah, there's Barry. Go ahead, Barry.
Sorry, I was slow to click on mute.
It's okay.
Thank you. I mean, I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. I've been impressed with everything I listened to today. Unfortunately, there was a little miscommunication between myself and Christina because I showed up in person to video the meeting today, and that's why I kind of just jumped on anyway. But in listening to everything, there's a couple things I just wanted to mention. As far as the downtown decorations for summer, flowers and or banners, it just dawned on me that if because I know the banners that have been used the last couple of years probably are no longer serviceable. And I was just curious if thoughts had been put into place into how that aspect of downtown beautification was going to be done this summer. And then the other thing is, I also want to echo a lot of the comments that happened earlier about both the chambers and the DDA's involvement in bringing the new cruise boat down to the downtown this summer. The CVB is very excited about that. As kind of that news was breaking, we had an executive committee meeting earlier this week, and we're talking about and kind of starting to brainstorm on how we can start promoting that as an additional asset to the community. So thank you all who were involved in that. And then the last comment I have is the CVB does have some budgeted funding for what I'll call kind of community promotional infrastructure. And that's kind of very vague, but I'll give you an example of what we've used that funding for in the past, and that was to purchase the event barricades that the city stores and basically groups throughout the county use for all the events they're hosting. We have funding set aside for kind of the next idea that someone comes up with. So if there's anything that, as you guys are doing projects and, whether it's around the dining platforms or maybe the social district or other things that I'd heard discussed, just realize that, if there's an aspect of that you think would jive with the CVB's mission, we do have budgeted funds for things like that, we can contribute into a project. So I just wanted to throw that out there so that we're out there too, trying to help. Those are my comments. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Barry. Thanks for joining us. Any other public comment? Okay. Hearing none. Comments from board members?
This isn't a comment, just a quick question from Mark. I'm just wondering if you know if Ted Fricano has got an open date, an estimate open date?
Ooh, James, that is an excellent question. It's an excellent question. There's been some dates thrown about. And I will give you the most conservative one. His goal is to absolutely be open by sleigh bell. Okay, so, and as they've unfolded parts of the building and done demolition, like in the kitchen, I think they've uncovered more than they were anticipating. So the conservative number may actually be the one that actually is good. So, but they are working, Ted and Rick are working very hard to try to get something sooner for the community, but that's where they're at.
Great. Thanks, James. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you all for joining us, and stay tuned from Christina on a special meeting or work session for bond stuff. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Thad.
Second.
Thanks, James. Again, thank you all. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Just to let everyone know it's snowing.